What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to NBA Talk. I'm your host, Hani, and in this episode, we are kicking off our coverage of the 2016 NBA offseason with some blockbuster trades that happened last week. The most notable trade was a trade between the Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks. Within this trade, according to ESPN.com, the Knicks acquired Derrick Rose from the Bulls on Wednesday, hoping the former NBA MVP can be their answer at point guard. New York traded center Robin Lopez, guard Jose Calderon, and guard Jerian Grant to Chicago, who also, along with Derrick Rose, shipped Justin Holiday and a 2017 second-round pick to the New York Knicks. Now, honestly, when I heard this trade, the internet literally broke. There was so much craziness happening with this trade. Some people love the trade, some people don't love the trade. And I think you can kind of guess which fan base likes the trade and which fan base doesn't like the trade. Now, when I first heard about the trade, I was actually a bit shocked by Chicago's move for this, because I just thought that Chicago was making a very quick, a very unrational decision that might end up hurting them in the future. But then after processing this trade and thinking about it logically from the perspective of the Bulls management, I have now come to the conclusion that this is actually one of the best trades that Chicago could have done. I mean, excuse me, Bulls fans, but last season the Bulls were trash. They were so bad. When you watched the Bulls game, you never expected which kind of Bulls you were going to see. Were you going to see the Bulls that can completely dominate any team? Or are you going to see the Bulls that almost play just as bad as the Brooklyn Nets? And the Brooklyn Nets, for those of you who don't know, are a pretty terrible team. They're just so trash. And honestly, the Bulls needed to make a move. And I feel like by trading Derrick Rose away, they can finally start officially rebuilding this team from the ground up, which they need to. Because at this point, it's inevitable for the Bulls to rebuild and start from scratch. And the way to do that is to get rid of the old. Now, for the past few years, Chicago has been a big deal. They had a lot of success under Tom Thibodeau. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and honestly, they could have made it to the NBA Finals one of those years if Derrick Rose never got injured. The problem now is Derrick Rose, he's no longer going to be that same league MVP that he once was. I'm sorry, Bulls fans, it wasn't meant to be, especially in the Chicago Bulls uniform. Because we have to think about it from Derrick Rose's perspective. He had 3 serious injuries to his knees wearing that Bulls uniform. And that every time a player gets an injury, it's very demoralizing for them. What if I do this again? Oh, what if I take a misstep? And what if I do something bad that I might risk my career? And to think that Derrick Rose has to do that not once, not twice, but 3 times just shows that he's very unstable. Every time he puts that uniform on, he's terrified knowing that he could pretty much end his career with one bad misstep. And that has really affected his play to this day. And in my opinion, if he continued being in Chicago, I think he would have never, ever reached that MVP form that we once known and loved from Derrick Rose. It's just a fact. So obviously, Chicago needs to move on from him. He's not getting any younger, and he's clearly not regaining that MVP form anytime soon. The second member of that Chicago Big Three that was so successful is Joakim Noah. Now, Joakim Noah is getting old. He's around 30 years old now. His play has decreased, and you can just tell that he is unmotivated, and it is highly unlikely that he is going to stay in Chicago this offseason, because he's an unrestricted free agent. He has the ability to leave, and it's already been reported that he is done with the Bulls. He's done with the instability, and done with the issues with the Bulls organization, and he wants to move on and get a fresh start. So already 2 out of the Chicago Big Three are going are leaving or been traded. So clearly Chicago is now in a rebuild mode. And this trade completely helps them in this scenario. Now, the first reason being that Derrick Rose has been making a lot of money. He, for 2016 and 17, he'd be making around $20.1 million from the Chicago Bulls. That is a ton of money to give a guy who basically is a shell of his former self. So it's a lot of money that the Bulls need if they want to rebuild. If they want to rebuild, they need money to sign free agents and to get guys to come to Chicago and play. So by trading Derrick Rose, they basically freed up like $20 million of cap space that they can now use to go out there and sign free agents. Like Mike Conley, for instance, he is available. A guy like Al Horford is also available to replace Joakim Noah. Or even in the unlikely scenario, they maybe could lower Kevin Durant. There's so many possibilities now that you've traded Derrick Rose because the Bulls have that financial flexibility so that they can go out there and sign the guys they need to move the franchise forward. The second reason this was a good move is Chicago needed to move on from Derrick Rose from a mental perspective. Obviously, Bulls fans adore Derrick Rose. They love what he did for the city, for the franchise, and he was the hometown kid. But let's be honest. The Chicago of the old is no longer there. You lost Tom Thibodeau. You're going to be losing Joakim Noah. You're losing Pau Gasol. So the only guy left out of that team is Derrick Rose. And you cannot move on and be a completely different team without getting rid of the old guys, the guys who haven't been working for you. So by getting rid of Derrick Rose, it gives Chicago that ability to have that clean slate and start fresh with a young, talented core headlined by Jimmy Butler. The third reason why this is a good trade is they are getting quality players out of this deal. Now I know Robin Lopez, Jose Calderon, Jerry Grant, they're not the biggest names on the market, but they are still quality players. Robin Lopez, for instance, is going to be a quality big man to replace Joakim Noah and Pau Gasol. Because clearly, those two are not resigning with Chicago. And that's a completely different discussion for another episode, but we understand the point here. You know, those two are not resigning. The Bulls need a center. So by trading away Derrick Rose, they have now acquired a quality center in Robin Lopez, who could not only start, but can come off the bench if Chicago either chooses or does not choose to bring in a free agent center. The second is Jerry Grant. This guy is a promising young point guard. Now, though he struggled a little bit in New York, I think he still has some game in him. Especially under the guidance of Jose Calderon, who is a solid veteran who can give you quality minutes if you need it, and can also mentor young guys like Jerry Grant and the newly acquired Denzel Valentine, who is coming into Chicago. Jose can mentor these guys and show these guys the ropes and how to play. So clearly, by looking at Chicago's new, from a Bulls perspective, this was actually the best move for Chicago. Not only are they getting cap flexibility by clearing out Derrick Rose's huge salary, but they're also getting quality players in return. Plus, they're able to finally get that clean, fresh slate that they've been looking for a long time. So from that perspective, the Bulls made the right decision by trading away Derrick Rose. Now, on the flip side, for the New York Knicks, this is honestly one of the best moves Phil Jackson has made since taking over for the New York Knicks as their president. And the Knicks, and I feel bad for Knicks fans, because they've been enduring so much struggles with their team. A team with this much historic value, this much of a market, it's a shame to see them struggle this badly. However, with now Derrick Rose coming in, the Knicks are looking a lot better. First of all, you're getting Derrick Rose, a guy who was a former league MVP, a consensus top 5 player in the league at one point, and a guy who just wants to win. You're getting that guy for basically nothing. You traded maybe 3 guys who didn't do much for your team and got potentially a superstar that you compare with Carmelo Anthony and Kristaps Porzingis. Another reason is that Derrick Rose is going to come in to New York with no pressure, which means that he doesn't have that whole pressure of being the hometown kid, the hero, the guy who everyone relies upon to win the game or make that tough shot. Because now he's got a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who is a bona fide winner, a guy who's desperate to win an NBA championship, and a guy who is known for making big shots in big moments. And he also has an up-and-coming rookie in Kristaps Porzingis, who honestly is absolutely fantastic in what he did. So clearly, New York is looking a lot better with that big three. Because now you got Derrick Rose, who can potentially re-blossom into that player he once was. You have Melo, who's desperate to win a championship. And you got Porzingis, who's hopefully going to be continuing his good play for the years to come. Now, what this also does for the Knicks is it gives them sort of leverage with this deal. Meaning that Derrick Rose is signed only to 1 more year of his contract. Which means that if Derrick Rose, let's say, doesn't work out in New York, let's say the Knicks don't do well for some reason next season, they don't have to worry about, Derrick Rose for years after that. They basically have to worry about Rose for that one season, and if it works out, great, they can re-sign. If it doesn't work out, well, they're not locked into anything. They just get rid of $20 million right there, and they move on to the next person in line. So it's a low risk scenario for the Knicks, because the Knicks aren't tied to Derrick Rose. They're not focused on, building this core with Derrick Rose. If he works out, great. If he doesn't work out, let him go and keep moving on. And finally, the third reason why this is one of the best trades for New York is it's giving them intrigue around the league. Now, this is an important factor, especially heading into the off-season, as New York needs to acquire some free agents. They need to acquire some talent through this off-season if they want to become a legit contender in the East. And one of the guys who they're primarily looking to acquire is Kevin Durant. Now, ever since Derrick Rose landed in New York has now been getting a lot more attention, as now teams are looking at them saying that, well, look, the Knicks are actually trying to make moves. The Knicks are trying to do things to become a successful team. And players find that very intriguing, as they now see New York as a viable option, because they know that New York is trying to win now. New York is trying to accomplish big things. So obviously players are going to look at that and they're going to see that it's a possible destination for them now. Which is a good thing for New York, as New York needs talent. They need 1 or 2 more guys to make this team a legit contender. And with the acquisition of Derrick Rose, players around the league are now looking at the Knicks more seriously, and they're considering the Knicks more now than they ever did before. So overall, looking at this is one of the this was a good move for the New York Knicks, as not only are they getting Derrick Rose, who could blossom back into that league MVP, they are also getting him at a low-risk deal, and they're also getting free agent intrigue throughout the league, which puts the New York Knicks in one of the best positions moving into this offseason. Now, finally, one of the biggest reasons as to why this is a good trade in general is it benefits Derrick Rose. Now, I touched upon this a little bit earlier. Derrick Rose has been losing his confidence after 3 huge surgeries on his knees, playing sparingly, having bad seasons. Derrick Rose has gone through a lot with the Bulls. And it's clear that he was looking for a fresh start. He needs a clean slate. He needs to put all those bad memories and bad thoughts behind him and leave that in Chicago and start fresh in New York. So with this trade, it allows him to clear his mind and start fresh with no worries. Because now Derrick Rose doesn't have to worry about the responsibility of being a hometown kid, being Chicago's main offensive weapon, being the guy. He doesn't have to worry about that in New York, because now he's got a guy in Carmelo Anthony who he can distribute the ball to, and he can help share the scoring load. He also has a guy in Kristaps Porzingis, who is an up-and-coming rookie. So now Derrick Rose is the second or third option on New York rather than being the number one option in Chicago, which relieves some of the pressure off him because he doesn't have to work as hard as he did in Chicago that he doesn't have to do in New York, which can ultimately help him, as if he doesn't work as hard, there's less of a chance he might not get injured. So it's more of a relief in his mind because now he's like, finally, this pressure is gone. Like, I don't have to worry about people criticizing me now. People are embracing me. And that's what Derrick Rose ultimately wants. And it's giving him that opportunity. And number 2, this benefits Derrick Rose because now he's playing in a bigger market. He's playing for the New York Knicks. And now, with that bigger market, he has the opportunity to rejuvenate his career. Because in Chicago, I'm guaranteeing you, Derrick Rose wouldn't have been able to play better or play like that MVP again. Why? Because all that mental tension in his mind about the memories of the injuries and whatnot. But now in New York, Derrick Rose is in a better mental state, as now he can come in and play his butt off, knowing that this is his contract year. He's had a fresh start, and now he can play his hardest and focus on basketball and focus on being the best version of himself that he ever was, so that teams can now re-recognize that this guy is a legit player. He was a legit league MVP, and we should start taking this guy seriously once again. So overall, it's a benefit for all 3 parties. It benefits the Bulls, benefits the Knicks, and it benefits Derrick Rose. That is why I say this trade was a good move in general. Because it not only gives every team what they want, but it also provides future benefits for each team and each party as well. Which is why I want fan bases like the Chicago fan base to stop, I'm sorry to use this word, but stop crying about this trade in the Chicago Bulls organization. I believe the Bulls organization know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're trying to do at this point. And I think they made the right decision by trading away Derrick Rose, because now it just leaves the future for the Bulls wide open. I mean, I know Derrick Rose was a good player, but Derrick Rose needed that opportunity to hopefully become that good player once again. So there you have it. That was the whole Derrick Rose trade. trade and how I think it is one of the best moves for not only Derrick Rose, but the Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks. Now, it's up to you. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know, was this a good move? Was this a good trade in general? Or who does it benefit the most? The Bulls, the Knicks, or Derrick Rose? Let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already done so, subscribe. I don't know what you're waiting for. We will be posting more content like this and more off-season coverage within the coming weeks. So definitely stay tuned and subscribe to this channel so you don't want to miss any of that. Follow me on social media. You guys know what to do. I'm mainly on Twitter. I'll be soon getting Instagram too. If I don't get it by then, I'll let you guys know. Follow me there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.